In accounting for comprehensive growth in your country, we think it is time for developing countries to take a position to ensure that whilst you retain interest in your country, at the same time, you also have to ensure that the groups of individuals who are currently perhaps not as perhaps who are currently languishing in poverty or languishing in financial struggles are individuals that we can care about as well, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, we will argue from opening government that it's imperative for states to start engaging in a policy wherein they require foreign companies to take a minimum amount of low-income workers in order to ensure that they have a license to operate. Before I move on to my three arguments, why do we think there is a reason for us to engage in this particular policy? Why should the state compel these companies, and why we think that the companies have some degree of interest to want to stay in these countries? Several points of clarification by the model. One, we think that a number of individuals that you will employ in your country can differ to each developing country based on your interests, because we acknowledge the fact that developing countries exist on a spectrum in status quo. That means countries can make a calculation based on how much companies are coming into their country, what sort of companies are interested in their countries, as well as how much work they need. Secondly, we will enforce anti-exploitation laws to ensure there's some degree of safety and labor standards to ensure, right? Because we acknowledge that in status quo, some countries that are in the developing world currently face an issue of exploitation. For example, the production and manufacturing industries in countries like Bangladesh. But we think the debate has to move beyond that to acknowledge that there are other companies that come to developing countries as well. Companies that are technology-based, retail companies, as well as food companies, ladies and gentlemen. And we think at the point at which these companies want to come in order to ensure that workers have an ability to have a wider array of options to ensure that they can participate in the jobs they're choosing, I think that it's better for us to employ this particular policy. The first, why do we think? Calm down, sit down. Why do we think? One, a lot of developing countries in status quo have flourishing economies to begin with, ladies and gentlemen. So they not only have things like rising gross domestic GDPs, but we also think what is inherently unique about developing countries, in contrast to the rest of the world, is that it is an emerging market, one that has niche products as well as niche resources that cultivate interest for companies who want to come in. But the problem with wealth distribution that exists in status quo is that oftentimes only a select group of individuals in those countries are able to reap the benefit of foreign companies coming in. We're talking about the political elite. We're talking about richer individuals who invested in those companies to begin with. And oftentimes you have oppressed groups in your country who are poor, who can't access these jobs other than to engage in a policy where they participate in the companies that currently exploit them in status quo. And the problem with this, ladies and gentlemen, is that often in developing countries, governments don't provide a fallback mechanism to ensure that the communities that we are talking about will be able to glean some financial benefit, ladies and gentlemen. Let's acknowledge the fact that oftentimes in third world countries or developing countries that they can't afford welfare institutions as good as the one in first world countries, right? And second, we would say we don't want people to continuously rely on welfare rather than to bolster their ability to participate in the economy. We think it's a lot better, ladies and gentlemen. Secondly, we would say that a lot of government funding in trying to create jobs in status quo, one, often takes away from other abilities for us to create maybe things like structures like schools, hospitals, or even creating markets in order for them to be able to cultivate businesses, right? Because the prioritization in developing countries is based on many different considerations. Whether or not we want to prioritize the development of infrastructures in perhaps rural areas in comparison to urban areas, whether or not we want to create financial corridors in urban areas, ladies and gentlemen. So we would say that the responsibility should be shouldered by foreign companies like Ford, like Tesla, where they can create jobs, where they can capitalize on the resources that they have in status quo and come back to that. Because we will argue that developing countries' economic growth is dependent on other countries as well, ladies and gentlemen, whereas companies largely can buttress the changes in the global economy in that they don't have to suffer the fluctuation of currency, for example, or they have to account for the fact that perhaps when a country's economy falls, and they can always go back to their initial home state. For example, we think that the incentive to invest in other countries means that often you create legal commitments in these companies. I'll keep you in a bit Mubarrat first. Means that they will want to provide not only infrastructures but also the training that is required in order to ensure that perhaps you're a low-income worker will then transition into becoming a higher income worker, ladies and gentlemen. Secondly, why should the state compel them? But before that, I'll keep Mubarrat.
So would this impact service-based industries?
Sure, we think that at the point where a country makes a calculation that's important, then they could as well. We think that if you're going to argue solely on the basis of exploitation, that also has to account for the fact that perhaps some states are able to buttress this, but secondly, that often foreign companies have a large brand that they need to protect in the eyes of the global market, and engaging in exploitation means often you face a lot of repercussions in state to school. We think that, so we think we can deal with that. But secondly, why should the state compel to begin with, ladies and gentlemen? Let's first acknowledge that there are groups of individuals that we are talking about in state to school are people that currently need jobs, right? But why do we think specifically these groups of individuals, even though we acknowledge that it could be low income, is that we think that we need to start empowering these groups of individuals to see that perhaps your reliance on the state, or perhaps your presence in the state doesn't have to be that we care for you anymore. Rather, we create an environment that allows for you to care for yourself, that allows for you to self-determine which sort of industry you want to work in, what sort of companies you want to work in. What we do is we think we create a working class, and a burgeoning working class often means that you have groups of individuals who are able to access other institutions like education, like the ability to support their families, but often create more aware groups of individuals who are more aware in terms of their political rights as well as their human rights, or the ability to voice out opinions rather than be subjugated to the standard of taking a back seat because the presumption is you are relying on the state and your contribution isn't beyond that. Lastly, how will companies react, ladies and gentlemen? We think that foreign companies the benefits of foreign companies to people often depends on their interaction with the people in that country, in that only the rich or the elites get the return of investments, because that's where your most viable form of investment come from. But what we do, ladies and gentlemen, is that we think you create a concept that perhaps starting to invest in a larger group of individuals that doesn't need for you to allocate extra additional resources more than you think is necessary means that often these are the people who are going to contribute back via things like labor, ladies and gentlemen. So will these countries react adversely? We don't think so, in that we think that a lot of these developing countries are resource specific to begin with, and our emerging markets are often cultivated in their interest to build up in those areas, ladies and gentlemen. In that, we think that in first world countries, a lot of the concentration of foreign companies means that foreign companies are unlikely to be able to fight through that competition, but you're able to cultivate an interest, a specific brand within developing countries, and we think that remains an incentive for these companies very well.
I thank the Prime Minister for his speech. Can I please invite the Leader of Opposition? Here.
Members of the floor, notice that what Prime Minister introduced to you sounds a lot like status quo, in a sense that if these companies usually are manufacturing based, and they usually go into developing nations, I think a lot of the times they already do end up hiring the low-income workers.
Yes.
The debate clearly now talks about companies that would have otherwise not have done it. This means that you're talking about two types of industries, either your service-based industries or industries that do manufacture but are more focused on it being highly mechanized and relying less on having to hire manual, human beings who will end up manufacturing those goods for them. I will analyze my questions based on these two stakeholders. First question is why this funds the economic growth of developing nations, and number two, why exploitation is still likely to happen, and in fact, we think they make it worse. All my rebuttals are integrated. So number one, why do you think this funds the economic growth of developing nations? So unlike Prime Minister, I'm going to break down the stakeholders, right? Let's firstly talk about, say, the service-based industries and how they actually function differently than just, like a generic argument about how companies operate. Currently, we think that the service-based industries that have no reason really to go in and hire low-income workers actually do provide jobs. They may not provide jobs for your low-income workers who usually work in factories, but they definitely do still provide jobs for those who are middle-income earners as well as those who come from the upper class. And the reason why it's still important that we maintain them without putting this imposition onto them is because we still want them to exist within our country, right? No. Why? Because the point at which we take away these sort of avenues for individuals who come from the a lesser number of jobs. This means that a lot of times you are the reason why it's more difficult for people to not just climb up the socioeconomic ladder, but why some people even regress in that socioeconomic ladder because they no longer have further means to climb up, but instead they regress because there is less of an ability for you to get those jobs, but even jobs that can actually develop your skills. No. But moreover, we think that the service-based industries you're talking about are like bank industries or like insurance companies or like Uber when they come in. Like I'm not talking about the drivers on the ground, but the Uber center and the services and the HQ in that country, they don't end up hiring the low-income workers, right? But notice that all of these industries still provide very crucial means for us to survive in our everyday lives. The ability for us to get loans to start up SMEs, to flourish the local industry, and for our economy to be able to grow, and maybe perhaps in the future not have to rely on these foreign corporations, and the ability for us to be able to mobilize and get better self-actualization within status quo. No, we think that this is what happens in your world, is that you cut off the ability for people to mobilize, but also you cut off the means for individuals who currently come from the middle income earners and the upper class. No. But the second group we like to talk about is also those who are currently highly mechanized industries, who manufacture goods, but usually end up relying more on machineries as opposed to individuals. Currently, we think that these companies are also more likely to leave. Why? Given the fact that entering into developing countries as it is already risky. Given the fact that developing countries are plagued with a lot of factors that become concerning for you as an individual who wants to start up a business because you want predictability, right? But when you're talking about developing nations, these are usually nations that are covered in either corruption or civil unrest or the possibility of it not having much of a sustainable form of economy. You don't know where things will go. The point at which they're already making those considerations but choose to come in, but now you give them an added factor to be concerned because now you are interfering in the way they run their businesses and the way and the sort of individuals that they ought to hire, means that there is more likelihood for these companies to leave. No, but let's also engage on the fact that not all of these companies will leave, right? Even if some of these highly mechanized manufacturing companies don't leave, why is it still bad? Firstly, I think the reason why a lot of these companies chose to be highly mechanized to begin with is because it actually increases the magnitude of your production. So the point at which you change from machineries but to increase the number of labor workers that you end up hiring, no, it means that you have less magnitude of a production because you are now less reliant on those machineries but are more reliant on actual people. This means that in comparison to machines that work swiftly and can provide mass production, and if before this, mass production meant that you created more indirect jobs. For example, if you have more goods being produced out of the factory at a much larger rate, means that you create more jobs, right? One thing to ensure there are more suppliers on the ground because you have more things being produced, right? You need more transporters on the ground for people to transport goods that you are producing towards those markets that you're trying to sell. The fact that you have warehouses that you are renting from the locals because you want to store those goods in those warehouses, right? All of this becomes less in magnitude in comparison to ours when you materialize this sort of policy that you wanted. So at best in your world, this more jobs become a wash because it still comes at the expense of making other people lose their jobs. So we don't think that it's an ultimate benefit that you actually get. Hold on. But moreover, we think the point at which you move away from machinery but towards labor work, it means that your cost of operations also increase because you have to sustain these individuals, but also you're getting less profit because there is less of a magnitude of production for you to be able to sell. What this means is that a lot of the times companies need to survive and they need to ensure that their shareholders are still happy and are still able to sustain their company. What this means is that to ensure that they get the same returns, they transfer that cost on towards the consumers, and people within developing nations should not have to bear the brunt of your policy that you so claim to help individuals on the ground. Yes.
In your mechanized companies, even at work, surely you can employ individuals in positions that don't detriment your production, i.e. being secretaries, for example.
Yeah, but how many secretaries do you actually think you need, right? Because currently, we're already doing that, right? There are some individuals where the company thought that it was useful to have, say, for example, this amount of secretaries, but on the other hand, we want this amount of machineries because we made that cost analysis, right? It wasn't like we just decided it's actually more beneficial for us to have human beings, but we just want to be fancy and have machines instead. No, individuals already made that calculation, and we think that hiring more secretaries would make them lose out on money. But lastly, we think that in a world where some companies do leave and some companies don't, the few that don't get to monopolize the market because there's less of a competition, and that's something that you definitely don't want because it goes up to exploiting the individuals. Second question, why exploitation is likely to happen and in fact it becomes worse? Developing nations still want FDI because that's the way they flourish their economy. But when you also still have this policy, but you at the same time want to make sure that these companies come in, you start giving in negotiations in the contract when they come in other factors as well. So we say, please accept in more minimal work, these low workers, these low cost workers, but on the other hand, you can pay them a certain less amount, or you can provide less rights, because you have to give in that manner, but ask them to give something else in return. And we think that at the end of the day, still exploits people on the ground. So we cannot possibly come up here and say that status quo is not good enough. We think it's done some good, given the fact that many developing nations are currently climbing up the socioeconomic ladder. Thank you.
Thank the leader of opposition for speech. Having now please invite the Deputy Prime Minister. Here.
It's hard to see you. Sara, we think it's time we dignify the poor and obligate the market to finally provide for the needs of the poor who have always gotten the shorter end of the stick when it comes to capitalism. We think that in what the keys from opening opposition was essentially, it was a few things. One, we lose jobs that are already existing, and secondly, people or foreign countries will leave this country, right? But what they never actually answered the question was whether or not they were ever able to deal with the problem of lower income individuals within this country, most of which are largely exploited already, most of it which cannot survive on a daily basis. How do they deal with the problem if there is nothing for them, right? So what they wanted to talk about was how we lose jobs for middle income as well as richer individuals. First, we don't think it's such a huge or a realistic problem on their side. These are individuals who have good enough qualifications to have the ability to have those kind of jobs, which means it's easier and more flexible for them to move between companies and towards local companies as well. But secondly, Uber wouldn't cut off on all those skilled workers just because they need to employ a few other low-income workers. Because the lower-income workers cannot displace the already skilled workers, so they still have to employ those individuals. So we don't understand the problem from their side. And if really the problem is probably that the higher or richer people lose jobs, we really probably don't think that's such a big problem on our side, given that they are flexible and able to move to different countries with other economic opportunities as well. It's the people who are trapped within this country and trapped within the system are who we are concerned about. But she accused us of not talking about the industry that we largely affected. Realize that Jay already told you that we were willing to talk about industries that are not production industry. Why? Because we already told you that production industry already employ a minimum amount of low-income individuals anyway. So definitely the people that we are talking about are the service industry and all of those other industries that we want to talk about. But America immediately left out one of the type of companies that they should have talked about, which is companies who enter just for the sake of exploiting the market in all of these developing countries. So this means that these are companies who come in and sell a lot of things towards all middle income or poorer individuals, but don't essentially have to hire a lot of locals. These are the companies that come in with their existing already skilled workers, but don't have to ever provide jobs for people on the ground. So we think that there are a couple of problems with this. Number one, we don't obligate them to ever provide, to ever have a system in which you provide jobs for the poor, and they always gain a positive profit from the country, as opposed to the country ever being able to get the returns. That means that the tax that the company gives towards the government will never be enough to make up for the fact that the company profits a lot from the country, yet don't have to cater towards poor individuals in this country. We think there are multiple amount of companies like this who come in just to exploit the market. Companies like Hyundai, Nike, and so on. Those are the companies that we're talking about as well. And even if we're talking about also these service companies, we're very happy to have service companies have a higher lower income individuals as well. We think that's not a problem, and we don't think this will displace workers who are more skilled. So, but will companies leave these developing countries? No, we don't think so. We really don't think that it's such a coercive policy in which if you have to employ a percentage and minimum amount of low-income people, that suddenly it will make your business utterly unprofitable. Because that will seem like that's the kind of company who away because that small margin of profit is given away. So we don't think that's the case. It's really unrealistic for them to say that these are the companies that will lose out because we have to employ a number of people in extra. We don't think that's the case, right? That have to be, these are MNCs. Because companies that come into developing countries are companies that have profited a lot anyways. So they have to be able to calculate that risk to begin with. Given that we acknowledge there was a risk into entering a developing country, that's why the companies that come in, no thank you. Well, I've already calculated those risks, and our companies have large profit margin to begin with. We think lowering the profit margin wouldn't make the developing market any less lucrative for them, since they cannot tap into already developed market given the exorbitant amount of competition that already exists in those developed markets and the establishment of all the other companies within those developed markets. Developing markets are exclusively unique in their attraction towards those companies, right? But even if we're able to do that too, even if we lose some companies, we don't think that's such a big problem, because Jay already told you that the way in which the system works is that the distribution of wealth or the benefit from this company, it is largely distributed towards, like they say, only the richer individuals and some small job towards middle income individuals. We don't think those are companies that we think we're willing to lose a few of those companies in return for better distribution of wealth to those individuals who are poorer. We already told you how the taxation system can't make up for this large gap in which developing countries don't have the mechanism to provide for welfare systems that are able to cater to all the poorer individuals, and even if they could, having a poorer group of individuals always dependent upon welfare, but never having a system that ensures that they can be self-dependent and self-sustainable means that you have a system that does not work when it comes to dealing with the poor. Why is this so important to deal with the poor? Jay already told you in a minute. Jay already told you how this gives better education to the poor. We empower them, they're less dependent on government support. We empower and push them away from places like slums where they are radical in crimes and things like that, where all those people are abused, exploited, and will never be able to live the dignity of it. Anti-exploitation laws are still dependent on the will of the government. What happens when the government is willing to forsake other rights of these workers because they are now forcing these companies to do this one policy? Look, they think that status quo, right, in which all those companies are able to have individual negotiation with the government as to what level exploitation is allowed within those things. We think with our policy number one, G already told you in which we are supporting anti-exploitation laws and those kind of things. But it's far better if you have a population that's already working and are more educated. That means they're better able to fight for their rights. So that means collectively, over time, these are the people who would be fighting the government for anti-exploitation laws even more, anti-discrimination laws and things like that, because they are hired and have a stake in it, as opposed to under status quo, where a lot of them are not employed, have no reason to push and pressure the government in order to ensure that the anti-exploitation laws are working or better to begin with. All of these negotiation things that they have on their side discount the fact that that happens on their side as well, but with no incentive to make it better. We're so proud of the voice.
Then the people for speech and analysis by the Deputy Leader Foundation. Vidya.
Two things. First, you can't say that you are going to go ahead and remove all the slums that existed in India and Bangladesh, and at the same time pretend like, oh, they can just hire two secretaries, and it's not going to fundamentally affect any of their populations. It's a give and take. If you're going to go ahead and do that grand plan of actually making meaningful change, you must accept there's going to be meaningful costs to the company that might have repercussions. The second thing that I would like to point out, because I'm not going to deal with this directly, is their argument on why less exploitation will occur is contingent on more low-income people being employed to begin with. So if I can disprove that they lead to net more low-income employment, they lose the argument on less exploitation as well. Three different markets that I want to look into. First, service-based industry in terms of banks, insurance companies, Uber, etc. Second, I'll talk about capital-intensive production. And thirdly, this is my new argument. I'll talk about like the kind of like companies that only solely export but don't really employ a lot of people. I'll talk about Coca-Cola and Bangladesh, for example, right? So first, let's talk about this. First, there are certain companies whose fundamental operations rely on driving down costs by having minimal employment, and particularly low-income employment. So, for example, sharing economies, right? Airbnb, Uber, those are companies that rely on heavy low costing to be able to survive because they also ask for very cheap prices from people. Those are impacted to a large extent. No, thank you. The second, for example, are banks, especially banks who operate on low-income people. So, for example, banks who give out loans to low-income individuals are operating in risky adventures, also need low cost. So, for example, if you're talking about microeconomic loans that massively benefit low-income people, those are banks that rely on very low cost to be able to operate. We are also talking about insurance companies who compete on cost to provide life insurance for people who are on the ground who could not afford insurance before. These are companies who provide humongous benefits through their products to people who are low income, but they rely on low cost procedures. The point at which, no thank you, the point at which their costs go up, you cannot deny that this is a huge impediment to them investing. And by the way, Bangladesh is like literally the second fastest developing country in the world right now. And even we don't have McDonald's. You know why? Because it's risky to go to countries with political instability, even if there is opportunity. There's always a cost-benefit analysis that goes in, right? And you can't say that there is like, oh, opportunity, they will go in back there. It doesn't matter how many like conditions we put on them, right? So net loss, no thank you, is that a lot of these companies won't come in. What are the harms? One, yes, they provide a lot of middle-income jobs. What is the impact of that on low-income people? The point at which a lot of young graduates can't get jobs in these companies, they're driven down to the lower-income segment. They take up jobs that otherwise unskilled workers would now take. Just ask the graduates who are graduating from universities in Bangladesh and can't get jobs, right? So those people now take up your low-income strata and remove people from that job description. That is why you need to employ people in the middle-income sector to create room for job opportunities for people like you. I'll take closing.
Look, why can't this policy be relative? Even if you are Uber and you hire less people, they'll require you to hire local income people. Why can't this policy be applied relatively? Therefore, if you're a company that only has 50 jobs, out of that 10% must be low income. Why do you have to force them to create 1,000 jobs all of a sudden?
So if it's proportional, of course it will be proportional, right? But the point is, if you say 10% of the jobs are low income and they have literally no use of that low income job, that still adds to their cost, no matter what the proportion is. Proportionally, it adds to cost of every fucking company. Every company. This means if adds cost, they might leave. Number two is that at the very least, they reduce the amount of expenses and operations within the country, which also leads to the exact harms of we were talking about, of people having access to jobs. No, thank you. Next, right? What about capital intensive production, right? So these are companies who rely on mechanized forms of production. Why is it harmful for them? They have two options. Either A, they move out of your company because they're so used to having mechanized forms of production that they can't adapt to new demands in developing countries. So Toyota, for example, doesn't want to come to Bangladesh and produce there because their manufacturing hub is in Japan. That's a lot safer forms of production for them. They don't want to come in. Huge amounts of losses of jobs for you there. The second possibility, they take the hit, right? They say, fine, we will opt for a less optimal form of production to listen to your demands. Why is that harmful? No, thank you. The amount of production they can do is less. Why is this harmful? Because the vast amount of low-income jobs that MNCs provide are never provided directly. It's provided by the suppliers that these companies produce. So, for example, British American Tobacco in Bangladesh gives $75 million annually to their suppliers alone. Imagine the thousands of jobs that get created with that money indirectly because they produce a lot through their mechanized processes in their factories, which provide cigarettes from one end to the other without relying on low minimum wage workers, but their suppliers employ them. And that's how they create thousands of jobs that you lose out, either because they leave or because they switch forms of production, which leads to lower amounts of production, which leads to lower amounts of jobs on a net in the economy for you. We think that's harmful as well. But the third kind of industry that I want to talk about are these companies, which actually tend to be kind of like a lot of these companies. So, for example, a lot of companies will come up, not create manufacturing hubs, but will obtain a license to operate and sell in your country. And what they will do, for example, is they will employ external contractors or local contractors to do that job for you. So, for example, in Coca-Cola in Bangladesh, we'll have a small office. That's it, right? But they're a huge company. with huge expenses. They will, have local distributors who will do the production for them, who will go ahead and sell to people. That creates thousands and thousands of jobs in the country too. What happens under your model? They are forced to employ local employees because they're a huge company operating in the developing country. So if they employ a lot of people, that means they have two options. Either A, they will have to go ahead and replace the distributor and do the manufacturing themselves to employ low-income people. Why is this harmful? That is harmful because they have realized they can do it less than the distributor. That's why they sublet to begin with, which leads to less net amount of low-income jobs. Or B, they actually leave because in Bangladesh they have lots of competition from like a lot of local companies, Arcicolo, Prana, etc., which means they don't feel that the investment is worth the risk and they leave. In which case you lead to massive amounts of losses under your system. But the conclusion that I wanted to say in this debate are twofold. A, we told you that MNCs, when they face this pressure and still need to come in, they will pressure governments into allowing them to exploit workers a lot more in order to meet their demands. They have absolutely zero response to that except for less exploitation because more people are employed, which is like contingent on proving that more people are employed. But secondly, we told you less competition necessarily happens under their model because some leave, right? That's reasonable to assume, which means oligopolistic competition exists as opposed to more intense competition, which leads to higher rising of prices, which leads to shifting of costs of these employees to people on the ground. Now everyone suffers in the country. That's not good.
I think that's really the organization for each other to be the closing half of the debate is by and Bob.
Does it like stop in the middle?
I think one of the major issues that developing countries are facing is a problem of inequality and class divisions. And we think side-closing government is going to be the first thing that's going to tell you how exactly we break this up. What will I talk about in my speech? Number one, I'll clarify the context because it seems very confusing in the opening houses of what kind of industries we're talking about, what are the incentives of these people. Secondly, I'll talk about how is it that we provide long-term investment in human capital of these individuals and actually explain the process. And lastly, I'll deal with all the scenarios of job creation and these companies going. So first of all, what kind of context are we talking about? Although one opening house has decided to talk really flashed out on manufacturing-based industries, we don't think this policy really, we think even under status quo, for example, when Asian goes to Bangladesh, they're still going to hire a lot of low-income individuals, and we don't think this is going to change their behavior. So whose behavior will these kind of policies change? Number one, service industries as correctly identified, and secondly, manufacturing industries. Now the way they created confusion in this debate was that, look, once you implement these policies in manufacturing industries, somehow they'll be forced to not mechanize, forego all their expertise and technical behavior because somehow they're expected to create many, many more jobs than they have the capacity of, as opposed to the very real alternative of making sure low-income individuals are employed in their managerial services, a lot of the times in their managerial lines of production. Therefore, even if you are manufacturing production in Bangladesh, you will have, let's say, the very least 10% of managers, right? Managers of the factories, managers of the retailers. So even if you're talking about British Tobacco Company in Bangladesh, they're going to have managers who are going to foresee these kind of manufacturing services. I think those are the kind of avenues where we want low-income individuals to be hired. Don't pretend these kind of avenues are not possible. Like your brother worked
British tobacco companies and who are part of the managerial positions within Bangladesh, even though that company is technically a manufacturing company. And you have to make sure that the policy coming from OG was quite clear, right? Relative to the kind of jobs that you have, you're going to make sure you hire local, like low-income individuals. Therefore, we're not going to dramatically force you to shut down your companies, like shut down your machines and have people like using like a lot of really old age stuff to do the things that they usually do. Sit down. Therefore, we think there's a large avenue for these low-income individuals to be employed in the managerial line of service. Sit down. Secondly, why is it that we think it's very important for these individuals to be hired? Although side opening government provided you why is it the role of the government principally to help these individuals? We'll tell you how exactly that help translates to these individuals. Sit down, I'll take one later. So currently what happens now, even if you are a manufacturing company, a lot of your managerial positions, even if you want to fulfill the token quota of having locals, if oftentimes individuals who are foreign educated, who are rich, who are privileged, whose dads often sit in the boards of these corporations within their locality and have the connection to be able to get their job. These are not individuals these hiring of these individuals, even though they may be from the country, has zero trickle down effect to people at the bottom. Why is it we want to force these individuals to hire people, low income individuals? We don't think these are individuals who are not qualified, right? We think a lot of these times they are graduates from local universities who have every competency to work in their managerial position, but are not hired to do so because their hiring policies only want to hire the very rich within that country, even if they're okay with hiring people. So what kind of policies or what kind of long-run changes are we requiring in the behavior of these corporations? Things like extending scholarships to low-income individuals so that they can become learned and make sure that they are able to enter the managerial post that you open up. For them, providing them educational facilities, liaising and providing training facilities to local universities and graduates to make sure that low-income individuals that you are forced to hire within your managerial positions are individuals who are talented, individuals who have the capacity and can therefore provide the things that you need as a corporation. Therefore, we actually ensure individuals from low-income strata who are currently educated but don't have the barrier or the access that rich individuals do within the same country to get those jobs. And we think in the long run, we think the hiring practices of these corporations will ensure that the educational facilities are opened up for them. And in conclusion, we think we do very much ensure that the class difference within these within these developing countries is broken down when local people who are equally qualified but don't have the opportunity to do so get the opportunities. Sit down. Secondly, we think, right? Secondly, let's talk about jobs and how we let's talk about jobs, right? Number one, we think a lot of the harms that were exaggerated on site were reliant on these corporations somehow completely being forced to demechanize and hiring local workers. We think there's many other avenues in which those jobs can be provided. In the worst case scenario, we think you can still provide them jobs within your retail division, within your storage facilities, within your transportation, provide things that also can provide these jobs. Then the question then becomes that in the worst case scenario, what will happen to which kind of service-based institution will get out of the country? These are service-based institutions that will only hire expats, bring their own expats within your country, use up your resources, and have zero trickle-down effect. They continuously want to use your market and your developing market without actually providing the job opportunities to the talented people within your country. Those are the kind of service-based institutions that are going to get out. So is the alternative that our country will no longer have any Uber or Amazon? We don't think so, because this actually opens up for a lot of local SMEs to take up this market. Before explaining that, yes.
So your policy is to have managerial positions but with low income. So my brother just earns a lot less now. That's your policy.
No, not with low income. He is a graduate who is also equally qualified, but he will be hired instead of a lot of these corporations who bring in their Singaporeans, their French people, their British people to work as the managers, to work as the scientists within their corporations. And your argument kind of assumes that there's no people who are qualified from the low-income strata to take up those jobs. So what's the alternative? Right? We think the alternative is you equalize the playing field as the kind of service-based providers and the companies that work in your corporations are individuals who completely have access to expats or have access to the most advantageous of people. This often means local SMEs, startups will have the ability to compete without having to, for example, compete with, in Pakistan, Flipkart wouldn't have to compete with Amazon because even though they have the ideas, they have the ability to use up the market, they don't have the technical ability to hire extremely talented professionals from a abroad. These are the kind of individuals that they have the market access to actually promote their business, as opposed to fighting corporations that have the ability to hire foreigners and continuously use the market for actually providing benefits. We think at the end of the day, we tell you that a lot of the times you will be forcing these corporations to change the way that they function, but not as dramatically as that opening opposition talking about.
I think the number of applause for speech and now is the number of calls.
I'm going to teach the government bench what trade-off is. In order to accrue some benefits, there must be a cost for that benefit. You cannot recognize, at the same time expect companies to invest in those two workers. We have X amount of money in this world, and if you force them to pick and choose, they're going to have to deprioritize something. So I think the policy of the opposing government was slightly different from the opening government. I'm going to deal with that first and then take them out of this debate. The first thing, managerial positions, great. So I think it's a huge cop-out of this debate. So if it's true that they are graduates of universities and they're really as smart as Mubarrat's cousin or whatever, they will get employed. They're so fabulous, you wouldn't be a part of this debate. They're not low income, either they are middle income or they are not part of this debate. But the second thing I'll ask you is, would in closing government you only be principally okay with managerial position? What about really low income, like mass textile industry, would you not be okay with that? I don't know what your extension is. But the second thing is, great, can they still mechanize? So it's a ratio. They can mechanize in your work, they can mechanize in our work. They can mechanize more in our work because there's less money spent paying for people who are incompetent, because otherwise we would have hired them in our work. Because really, if you were faster than a robot, they would pay you to do the job. So I think closing government wanted their cake and eat it too. Good luck defending them in it. That's your policy. Now let's do the opening government's work. Yeah, let me do it first. I think the first thing that a problem in this debate was developing countries setting it. If it's true that these developing countries are so dependent on MNCs, they're so corrupted, they have no welfare system, they would set a really low bar. Your revenue standard would make no difference in this country, and like India, where a burgeoning lower income class would literally not benefit of your policy. But the second is, even if it's relative, yeah, the harm is also relative. So for a company that employs 50 people, 10% of 50 people will hurt them the same as a company with 500 people, that 100 people need to be employed by your policy. So I don't think the harm decreases in both scenarios. So I think the government policy either A, doesn't prove the benefits that they speak about, or it's really soft, right? Because at some point in Jasmine's speech, she said, hang on, it's not that coercive, it's just a small increase. Yeah, good luck having a small increase for the 500 million people in India that don't have a job. Have a seat. So I think the policy of the government bench is either inconclusive or doesn't get the benefits they speak about. Have a seat. My extension of this debate is going to do two things. The first thing, and if you realize in this debate, there's only one really key issue that we need to deal with. We have to prove in closing opposition that the unemployed person in our world is far better off than the employed lower income person in yours. So if I can prove that, I think we won this debate. And the second thing I'll prove in my speech is, as a result of increased mechanization, maybe we won't have any lower income workers. The companies and the countries will be able to diversify their economy to the point where they no longer rely on textile industries. They no longer rely on African like cash crop procedures, and that is a world which developing countries are more likely to become developed countries, and we say that's a better policy. So dealing with closing government, if you listen to their speech, beyond just the managerial, really random stuff, I don't think anyone will be socially mobile as a result of being like a secretary in a random office. But the second thing I have a problem with them is, they say that companies more likely to invest in like workers and skills because they're full time. Great. That is compared against our. So in your world, there's an incentive to upskill these workers to fill up your low income jobs. In our, we think the incentive, like University Technology Putra, is to incentivize them to fill up higher end jobs. So as mechanization continues, as the fact that more jobs have become mechanized, your incentive is to develop more engineers, to develop more people that are essentially higher in their capacity. It might be lesser, but we think the quality of the jobs and the number of scholarships are far better. So I think in comparison to social mobility, we actually incentivize companies in a better way. I don't understand what's the incentive of companies to continuously fill up these lower income quotas. So we don't think they increase social mobility, just increase the capacity of companies to continuously fill this quota to the point at which they really upskill this managerial person, he'll become the income, and they have to fill up the quota with other people. I don't think that policy is very effective. Opening government, if you listen to their speech, the first issue they wanted is, they wanted more social mobility for low income person. If you realize, this is premised on the job being extremely good and this person benefiting from this job. I'm going to debunk this, because if you realize, they never explain the environment in which this job operates in. Your companies have less FDR, your companies are less likely to build into like infrastructure, your companies are less likely to build into economies of scale. As a result, production is probably harder. As a result, SMEs
job might be good for that person, but in an economy that's absolutely failing, I think that person will suffer a lot more. Have a seat. But the second thing, you'll see that job stagnates, right? In a world where there's a quota system for lower income jobs, you'll always be incented to fill up the quota rather than to take your current employees and upskill them to make sure you fill up high-end job as a world mechanized. Also, mechanization is actually a really good thing because a world in which governments are failing, welfare systems don't work, education doesn't work, companies that take over the market and ensure there's a burgeoning economy means you're less likely to rely on corrupt governments. That means it's more likely for them to be educational facilities, they're more likely for companies to invest in like corporate social responsibility. I think this job is not in and of itself a benefit if the environment it lives in is really hostile and states are failing. Have a seat here. Second, will they increase or increase exploitation? If you know, we think this argument is premised not on there being no jobs or more jobs. This argument is premised upon exploitation being like something people voice out. If you're always a quota system where this person is employed and actually given a chance by a company that didn't want to, I think they're less likely to speak out about exploitation. But the second is your companies are more likely to be exploitative because if you cut costs in all possible areas, the point at which you make it as such. So I think you increase the exploitation, not decrease it. But the second I've proven that a person in your world employed is actually in a worse off position than an unemployed person in our world who live off the instrumental benefits of foreign direct investment being high, companies investing in higher end job, mechanization being high, production being really cheap, and the cost of products being low. Before I go to my session, opening.
So in your world, you prefer a world in which all of these developing countries are run by exploitative MNCs and with no obligation or responsibility for them to ever provide jobs for the poor.
I visit POI is that in your world you have a corrupted state and you make the companies worse. So I don't understand what's the comparative in that POI, right? Within our extension, already I proved to you that a lower income worker is in a worse off position than an unemployed person. Obviously, the second thing is oftentimes when you force MNCs to constantly hire lower income people and keep with the trends of hiring people, they don't end up mechanized. They don't end up making their production as effective as possible. This means they are in a lesser position to diversify their company. And this means as a result, textile industries, the cash crop industry in Africa is stagnated. And as a result, that they are highly dependent on this single means of production. And as a result of that, the point at which another country will do it better, or the point at which it no longer becomes a niche of Bangladesh to produce textiles, that's when they lose out. That's when companies will leave. That's when FDI is often lesser, and as a result of that, they lose out. So in our world, when mechanization happens, and it's vast, and we don't catch mechanization, I think that's a world in which they are more likely to innovate. They're more likely to move away from mere manufacturing, or more likely to move into like diversified economies. I think the example here is like Abu Dhabi. It started off as a mineral-based industry, and as a result of having so much extra income, having FDI splurge, they were more able to diversify to tourist industry, to industry that are independent of it. And I think this is a world in which companies are in a better position to make governments less corrupted, to make people more mobile, and supremely proud. Logos.
And the member of our speech, we now please invite us our way. Here. Here's how we investigate. Break down the key assumptions that exist in the company. So let's look at those two key assumptions. The first one is, what will MNCs do? And you'll realize that a lot of their harms stem from this key assumption. And the second thing is, who does it hurt the most? Because I realize that we talk a lot about comparatives, Amrit, but we didn't talk about who actually does this hurt the most and who are we trying to benefit. I think it hurts the poorest income. So what are MNCs likely to do? If you listen to opening opposition, they come up with this bleak world that all MNCs will eventually leave, and that all those mechanized people will never be able to. Three responses to this. Firstly, we think what's more likely to happen is that they're more likely to hire more low-income workers. And they say, oh no, but there are a limited number of secretarial jobs. But that's contradictory to what you said, Mubarrat. Because you told me that mechanization often leads to more supply-side work. It often leads to more retailers. You need those benefits to those low-income workers to begin with. And that necessarily means what a company that needs to survive is likely to do is expand into that supply-side business to begin with and hire those low-income people that you want to talk about to begin with. But the comparative is, if that's going to happen anyway, the comparative under our side, that these are companies that have huge capital, have more expertise, and MNCs, and are able to hire those suppliers to aggregate it down. So we think on a comparative, we hire more low-income individuals because they are forced to do so. It's not that they're going to simply hire useless people. We don't think it operates that way. The second thing is that, sit down. The second thing is that they told us, oh, like companies will leave. That ignores the fact that there are huge incentives for MNCs to stay, right? What are some of these incentives? Number one, potential market sit down, because you forget the fact that Western markets are already saturated to begin with, and then you cannot, like as a bank, you cannot exist inside those companies anymore because you're not pleasing your shareholders to begin with. You have to expand into countries like Bangladesh. But secondly, if what you say is true, and that these service companies are direly needed and are definitely needed, that means these are incredibly important markets that you want to tap into. But a third thing is that the reason why poor income stratas always want to move into them is because sit down of things like first movers advantage and your ability to establish yourself there. Why is McDonald's the quintessential fast food? Because it was the first one, and that's what you want to do inside these countries to begin with. So no, we don't think we will. We think MIDP definitely will still want to go. Instead, what we'll do is the smart thing. But the third thing we think is sit down. So we're willing to make the trade-off, right? The kind of companies that will exist and the kind of competition that wins out sit down are those who will eventually hire more low-income workers and at the same time more low-income workers and also upper middle class. So we think we do get both benefits. Sit down. Let's go on to who does that happen. You realize it's very, very important that you realize that when you realize the MNCs will not go crazy, a lot of their benefits are neutralized. Who does it hurt the most? Because, sit down, I think they were trying to focus too much on the upper middle class without realizing who benefits more. That's why extension means basically, right? If you understand how foreign companies hire individuals, they usually hire like those upper middle class that you want so much to talk about, man. And also Amrit, I'll move on to you later, sit down. Those companies often hire foreign workers, right? Because, and especially when we're talking about mechanized countries, like Honda doesn't hire local managers and upper middle class individuals, they hire foreign individuals. Sit down, and that means that at the point where we force them to hire lower income, we get the benefit that you want to talk about in our extension, right? Because that necessarily means they're forced to hire those local companies to begin with. So, and sit down. Secondly, we think the trade-off that we're trying to make is that they're often going to these companies, like with mechanization, to exploit the resources that these companies bring to begin with, right? Sit down. So the only benefit that you get is that, oh, they expand more into supply side things. But we get the benefit of them also hiring more low-income workers that they were happy to use. Anyway, sit down. Secondly, they said, guys, things will get more expensive. And this is why mechanization is so good. This is where I deal with Amrit's extension. Mechanization is not always good, particularly when we're talking about some poorest countries in the world. Sit down. Who gets hurt the most when mechanization happens? Number one, even if it's true that things will get more expensive, I'm willing to bite that bullet. Under your world, you forget the fact that lower income individuals are less likely to have jobs to buy those cheaper things to begin with. So it doesn't matter how cheap the products get. If I don't have a freaking job, I still cannot buy those things to begin with. But secondly, sit down. The kind of individuals that will take the hit in their world are upper middle class individuals. The kind of individuals that will take the hit the kind of people that take the hit out of our world are upper middle class individuals. But in their world, the people that are hurt the most are people with no capital. It's the poorest of the poor who cannot get those low-income little jobs. That necessarily means that those people are necessarily starving to begin with. The third thing to say here, okay, before I move on to the third thing, just because I have to take something.
In your world, you say you trade off more companies because you want less good companies. Wouldn't that lead to a monopoly, lead to more exploitation and less jobs? Therefore, all your benefits are marginalized.
Okay, number one, antitrust laws. But secondly, let's talk about diversification of economies, right? Because she wanted to tell you here that, look, we want these companies to have a long-term stake in what it means to, like, a long-term benefit to having that mechanization to begin with. Number one, we don't think this has to be a permanent policy, Amrit. Like at the point where you have enough low-income individuals who have jobs and who necessarily have capital, we think that the government can then say, oh, now we're ready to mechanize. let us mechanize and improve into the diversification period. But secondly, the diversification of economy doesn't make sense if you have a large swath of income inequality where there are so many individuals who are so poor and will not be able to come back, and you have rich people. So even if you have a diverse economy, you still have this extremely messed up economy where the only people who benefit are necessarily the richest of the richest. And that's an extremely bad thing, right? Because it's extremely important that you tackle the problem of low income and poor income while the country is in its infancy and not yet dependent on mechanization. Understand that in Amrit's world, where countries are dependent on mechanization, a poor person will never ever be able to escape because he will never be able to find a low income job because we've diversified into this high technology upper middle class in the world. That's why I'm very, very proud.
Thank you, Dr. for your speech, and now we invite all here.
The reality of the world is that companies care more about the bottom line. Government side is the one that encourages these companies to entrench poverty, entrench these developing nations in that status of developing, never to improve from that. The first thing I will do is bring back Amrit's extension and tell you how poorly rebutted it was before moving on to the closing, the rest of the closing government and then the opening government. So the first thing we would say is that they have a misconception of how employment is not inherently good thing. So we accept the trade-off that sure, we may have less employed people, but at least we have less people employed in horrible jobs, right? The first thing that Amrit told you is that these are companies that never wanted them in the first place. These are companies that see these low-income workers as ones that hurt their profit margins. We think that they're going to have worse off lives and more exploited lives, right? But they also didn't respond to the fact that inside school, there's more incentives to upskill a lot of workers because companies no longer have to hire lower income workers, right? Meaning that if you already profit from the high economies of scale that comes with mechanization, you can then give scholarships like UiTP. You can then provide better skills to higher income workers, right? But the next thing that we tell you is the diversification that doesn't happen on their side. We tell you that the companies that do stay are the ones that probably have a lot of manufacturing or agriculture. This means that you trap a lot of developing countries in the resource traps because of this, right? This means that a lack of diversification that will happen. It means that if they accept that they'll have less companies, you also have a lot less diversity within developing nations, which is something that you need in order to enter from developing into developed nations, right? But before that's done, let me deal with the rest of closing government because I have a few questions. Number one, who will stay and who will leave? And number two, is this debate really about expats and managerial positions? So number one, who will stay and who will leave? Because we've said maybe some companies will stay and maybe some companies will leave. We think the ones with the huge incentives for leaving is exactly the companies that they talk about, where they have supposedly an incentive to stay in this consumer base, right? They tell us that the developing nation has a untapped consumer base, but that comes with knowing that it's cheap to manufacture there and then sell it there, right? The reason why they sell that is because they know that they know they can mechanize within these places and then sell it off. If they know that they cannot mechanize there and they know that it's cheaper to mechanize within my own country, they're probably going to stay in that country and try to compete in their country rather than bearing the cost. This means a lot of decrease on their side. The kind of companies that do stay, however, are the ones that know that they can benefit from this policy, right? The ones that eventually are going to consistently use manufacturing or agriculture. This is literally the reason why cash crops are so detrimental to a lot of African countries because it lessens the diversification within those countries and cause them to stay in a resource trap. But number two, is this debate truly about expats or managerial positions? Because we think that the literal definition of low income is tied to poverty and the inability to earn a higher income, right? The people that we're looking at here is people without degrees, people within developing nations that maybe don't have as much resources to universities, right? This means that people who literally live off lower skills and live off welfare and rely on lower skills, right? These are the people that government side are supposed to defend. defend, we think that you trying to defend the middle class isn't something that's as important. I think that Kosi government like missed the debate on the stakeholders, right? They are trying to defend people who already have money. But even if, right, we say that your quota is your responsibility of these corporations is actually to fill up the quota. Why would I upskill someone if I don't have to replace that person in the first place, right? We think you're more likely to help that, you're more likely to encourage these corporations to keep these people within that low income, just so they don't have to fix, right? But the second thing I would say that these people have worse off lives, right? That you have no incentive to help these people like beyond that, right? And you like maintain them within manufacturing jobs. You think they'll be treated terribly because they didn't want you there in the first place. They're going to overwork you and exploit you. Before moving on to like opening government, sure, opening up.
Right, look, you have to deal with the reality of MNCs. So MNCs that enter developing countries have a large profit margin. Why would them sacrificing a percentage of that profit margin would turn them away, given that they can never obtain that same profit margin at a developed country?
Correct. So that's really contingent on the idea that corporations are altruistic. When big banks like Wells Fargo are willing to create fraud, when a lot of companies are willing to create sweatshops, we don't think that these companies are going to sacrifice even 1% of their profit. This brings me to opening government and how is this trade-off truly justified, right? Because here's literally the trade-off. You have a lot more low-income jobs, but like less companies on your side. We may have less employed people, but more FDI and more companies. The way that we justify this is by telling you that the jobs that you create are horrible, but it also means that a lot less FDIs means less infrastructure coming in. That's not like it's the same government that cannot build on your development will not be able to, because companies no longer invest in these countries. The way that they justify their trade-off is really like really idealistic, right? So the first thing is the very value neutral speech that came in Prime Minister that says that poor people are poor and therefore we must justify it. We number one don't think that companies are altruistic in order to help and upskill these poor people. But the next thing, so like about developing markets, right? We think that essentially these developing markets aren't that attractive in comparison to the like no cost of production that comes from these developing countries, right? Literally, the reason why companies often enter into these developing nations is more often not to manufacture and also to exploit the cheap resources and consumer business, right? We think this means a lot of people that this directly responds to their idea of like empowering people to speak up, right? This means a lot less people within your quotas are going to speak up. So they know that if there's true there's a huge amount of poverty and there is a quota, a lot of times companies are likely to just fill in that quota with any low-income person. It means that they can easily replace these low-income people as well, right? Knowing that you can't the moment that you do speak up, you're more likely than not to be fired and then that quota will be filled up too. It means that literally your policy is one that is easily exploited, especially given the fact that you literally allow these developing nations that have a incentive to get more foreign direct investment, that you allow them to choose your quotas. That's completely soft and just ineffective on their side.
I thank all people for the great response. Thank you.